Welcome to The Day Windu Knew, Anakin's Power, Palpatine's Plan. The air in the Jedi training dojo was usually a symphony of controlled clangs and focused breathing, a testament to the discipline instilled in even the youngest initiates. But on this particular afternoon, a different kind of energy crackled. Master Mace Windu, observing from a shadowed alcove, watched the spar with a familiar, discerning gaze. He wasn't looking for perfection, but for potential, for growth. Yet his attention was singularly fixed on one particular young man, Anakin Skywalker. Anakin, taller and more physically imposing than his peers, moved with an almost reckless grace. His lightsaber, a blur of blue, parried and thrust with an intuitive ferocity that often bordered on aggression. Today, however, that aggression was less about skill and more about simmering frustration. He'd been provoked, subtly at first, then more openly, by a couple of his contemporaries who seemed to delight in prodding his thinly veiled impatience. They were young, yes, but their taunts about his late start, his special circumstances, cut deep. Windu saw it all: the tightening of Anakin's jaw, the subtle clenching of his free hand, the way his eyes, usually bright with enthusiasm, now held a dangerous spark. Then it happened. A particularly sharp jab, a mocking laugh from one of the other younglings, and a sudden, almost imperceptible surge in the Force. Windu felt it, a ripple of raw power. Before either of the other Padawans could react, their lightsabers, still active, were wrenched from their grips, flying through the air as if pulled by an invisible string, landing neatly in a pile at Anakin's feet. Silence descended, heavy and thick. The other Padawans stared, shocked and disarmed, literally. Anakin, breathing heavily, looked at the pile of sabers, then at his wide-eyed peers, a flicker of something akin to regret, perhaps even shame, crossing his face before it hardened into defiance. He hadn't just disarmed them, he had humiliated them, effortlessly demonstrating a mastery of the Force that was frankly astonishing for someone of his experience. It was a power that bypassed conventional training, a direct channel to the living Force that few could match, and even fewer could control. Windu remained still, his expression unreadable, but inside, a complex understanding solidified. This was the complication of Anakin Skywalker, laid bare. Unlike most Jedi who had joined the Order as infants, their lives a carefully constructed path of emotional detachment and disciplined instruction, Anakin had arrived late, bringing with him the full spectrum of civilian life's attachments and experiences. His power was immense, but it was untamed, rooted not just in the Force, but in raw emotion. He was a force of nature, and the Jedi Order, with all its structured wisdom, was struggling to contain, or rather, guide that storm. The incident, as expected, did not go unnoticed by everyone. Later that day, Windu found himself in a quiet antechamber, the holographic image of Chancellor Palpatine hovering before him. The Chancellor's expression was one of practiced concern, his voice a balm of measured empathy. "Master Windu," Palpatine began, his tone soft, "I heard about young Skywalker's incident in the training dojo. A regrettable display perhaps, but a testament to his unique abilities, wouldn't you say?" Windu nodded slowly. "His abilities are indeed exceptional, Chancellor, but raw power without control is a blade without a hilt." "Precisely," Palpatine purred, a subtle shift in his eyes. "And that is why I wish to speak with you. I confess I have a certain affection for Anakin. He reminds me of a young man with great ambition, much like myself, striving to find his place. The Jedi Order, for all its venerable traditions, might not fully appreciate the challenges he faces, having joined so late. Perhaps a more personal mentor, outside the immediate strictures of the temple, could offer him the guidance he truly needs." The unspoken implication hung in the air. Palpatine was offering to be that mentor. He was offering to guide Anakin. Windu's gaze was steady, unwavering. He had observed Palpatine for years, a quiet unease growing with each interaction. The Chancellor's charm was undeniable, his political acumen formidable, but there was always a sense of something hidden, a depth he couldn't quite fathom. This offer, seemingly benevolent, felt less like an act of charity and more like a carefully placed snare.
"I appreciate your concern for young Skywalker, Chancellor," Windu replied, his voice calm, polite, yet firm. "But the Jedi Order has a sacred responsibility to train its own. Anakin's path, however complicated, must be guided by the collective wisdom of the Council and the traditions of our Order. To involve external influences, particularly in the formative years of a young Jedi, would be unprecedented and, I believe, unwise." A flicker of something unreadable crossed Palpatine's face, quickly replaced by a resigned smile. "As you wish, Master Windu. I merely thought to assist. My door, of course, remains open to young Anakin should he ever feel the need for a sympathetic ear." The holographic image faded, leaving Windu alone with his thoughts. It was a polite refusal, one that upheld the decorum between the Jedi and the Republic's highest office. But for Windu, it was far more. It was a subtle act of defiance, a quiet drawing of a line in the sand. His distrust of Palpatine was not just a gut feeling, it was becoming a reasoned conviction. The Chancellor's intense interest in Anakin, this specific desire to step in as a personal guide, felt predatory. Windu understood, in that moment, that Anakin was not just a Padawan with immense power and emotional challenges. He was also a focal point, a potential vulnerability, and a prize in a game Windu was only just beginning to perceive. The protective instinct he felt was not just for Anakin's personal well-being, but for the very integrity of Jedi training, for the sanctity of our ideals against what he sensed was a creeping, insidious influence. The incident in the dojo, the flash of uncontrolled power, followed by Palpatine's timely offer, fused into a single, profound realization for Mace Windu. He knew then that Anakin Skywalker was a living paradox, a potential savior, yet also a profound risk, standing at the precipice of greatness and great darkness. And Palpatine, with his gentle words and calculating eyes, was watching, waiting, and perhaps already planning. It was a subtle sign, a quiet conversation, but it marked the day Windu truly understood the depth of the challenges ahead, not just for Anakin, but for the entire Jedi Order. Thank you for joining me on this reflection. What are your thoughts on this pivotal moment in the Jedi's history? Do you think Windu could have done more, or did he make the right call in that specific interaction? Share your insights in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this discussion, please consider following for more journeys into the lore of a galaxy far, far away.